We are live. We are live for a late night special. College football's Peek Around the Corner with your host, Greg Flugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Smash that like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to donate to this YouTube channel, which is definitely the rebel outpost of all college football YouTube channel. Hit the $sign, make a comment. We'll put it up as soon as possible. Welcome in. Welcome into the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. It is May 3rd. We are in the middle of the hot bubble of action from April 28th to May 17th. We are in the middle. We're not quite in the middle. We're entering the middle. You got it? We're just gonna skip all the other, Cloak and Dagger. You know the rules. Go to the merchandise store. Yada yada yada. We're getting into it. Always keep your head on a swivel. We had a pop up tonight. We had to do it. I've been quiet. I've been quiet for the last couple of days, and I will continue to keep quiet on some things. But some things have to be said. And I know, look, first of all, he's not going to hear this, but I want to thank the voice of college football, Mark Rogers. He's having a great live show going on right now, so he's not going to hear what I have to say. I want to thank him for putting on that show, for having those people on there. Tremendous work. Absolutely. Mark Rogers did all of us a great favor tonight. So the next chance you say something to him in the chat, say thank you, or on Twitter, say thank you for what he has done tonight. He had a panel. He has a panel. I think the show's going on right now. I think John Kurtz has a brilliant show going on right now. So we'll probably get 15 people in the chat, but that's fine. We're doing this show. Some things have to be said tonight again. Plus, we have the breaking news, CBS Sports, Dennis Dodd, ESPN is not interested in the Pac-12's Tier 1 content. They're not interested. And no, it's not a shot against the Pac-12 great universities. It has nothing to do with any flow charts or graphs. It has to do with ESPN and Fox making a decision. They don't want to partake. They do not want to invest heavily in a Pacific Coast Conference anymore. There's other options, the economic forces at hand, consolidation, everything we've been talking about since episode number 1 of August 10th, 2022. Dennis Dodd, this is breaking news. But Marchand has been talking about it, Andrew Marchand. So many of these reporters have been talking about it. And let me just say, you can disagree with the reporting. You can disagree with Dennis Dodd's reporting. You can disagree with Andrew Marchand's reporting. You can disagree with Greg Pflugar all the time. That's fine. But again, with the character assassinations that are going on, just because they're reporting something that you disagree with is shameful. Absolutely shameful. And the person who did it again tonight should be ashamed of themselves. Absolutely. 100%. I don't know, man. In college football, we disagree with each other. We laugh about it. We give each other a few elbows. But the character assassination, man, that has to stop. Or all college football YouTube channels should not be putting people on that all they do is tear people down just because they disagree with you. Holy smokes. There's not a show that I don't do that everybody in the chat says Greg is out of his mind. I disagree with them on. And that is okay. But to go after someone's character once again? Breaking news tonight. I don't normally put anything in the chat when I go on a person's YouTube channel. Mark Rogers, fantastic job. Fantastic panel. Coos, Justin Walker. Coos Corner, brilliant job. The guy from Big 12, I'm sorry, Josh is his name. I'm sorry. I don't remember. I don't know his name. Fantastic job. The guy who Pac-12, locked on Pac-12, fantastic job. The other guy, not so much. But I went in the chat and I said, they're talking about money again. Would a school leave for $5 million difference? $5 to $10 million difference. Some school has an endowment of $850 billion trillion. And again, Josh Neighbors, thank you, Kyle. Josh Neighbors, fantastic job. Brilliant. Mark Rogers, I don't have that skill set. Brilliant. Coos Corner, being the class act that he is, brilliant. I can't do that either. That's why we do the show that we do. Which isn't for everybody. I understand. It's my loss, not your loss. There's so many great YouTube channels out there. This is how we do it here because I do not have that skill set. I do not have that class that Coos Corner has. I just don't have it in me. They're talking about money. Money. Of course money is important. My goodness, money's important. But I made a couple statements. I made a couple statements from the heart. I said it's about the exposure. That's always been the issue. The Pac-12 presidents, they are afraid that the front porch of the universities are going to get buried. They've been nervous for months. And the boosters, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You don't think they're... Come on, guys and gals, come on. To pretend there's no heat behind the curtain? Really? Are we still playing that game? Nobody's... No matter how you stand on this issue, a good 90% of you are going to disagree with what I'm about to say, and that's okay on this channel. But I'm telling you what I either know or what I really strongly feel. And these reporters who are being assassinated, their characters are being assassinated, they're being conservative on their reporting. And I don't mean politically. We don't talk about that here. We're not obsessed about that here. That doesn't make us think that's not part of our college football world here at Peek Around the Corner. I'm talking they're being conservative in that they're guarding their reporting. It's at least as bad as what they're reporting. It's worse. It's about the exposure. There is a fear that the Pac-12 schools will have to go on some non-traditional outlet for getting their content out there for the fans. Remember the Pac-12, great universities. It's going to be some fantastic football this year. But for whatever reason, the last 10 years, Pac-12 country has not been watching Pac-12 football. Those networks, Fox and ESPN, we've been talking about it for weeks, for months. They have made a decision that maybe the Pac-12, the Pacific Coast Conference, a one-region conference, is not as valuable as it used to be. The universities are incredibly valuable. We're talking about athletics. And I'm sorry, but the world is changing. And it's going to change more. And if you don't get up on that change, you're going to get left behind. And you're not going to know what's going on around you. And that's happening to a lot of people out there. It's about the exposure issue. ESPN and Fox do, if they've made the decision that the Pacific Coast Conference, that the schools in there are more valuable with other conferences, that the one region conference doesn't work anymore in this time frame, only the SEC works now as a one region conference. If that's their decision, then the Pac-12 has two options. One, go the non-traditional route, heavy streaming, or not heavy streaming, but heavy on linear networks that haven't been doing college football, that doesn't have the reach, that doesn't have the historic college football casual fans switching onto that channel to watch college football. It's always been about the exposure issue. And today, on May 3rd, people still, I know PATC community gets it, but there's still so many people who do not get it. Breaking news. Breaking news, and we're covering it. I know my DMs are lighting up. It's May 3rd. The hot bubble of action, April 28th and May 17th. And I keep getting these remarks saying, Greg, are you going to move the goalposts? Nah, we're not moving them. The goalposts are staying. They're staying where they are. We're not moving them. Okay. Dennis Dodd, breaking news. Pac-12's murky future finds a shred of clarity with ESPN appearing out as an option for primary media rights. Scottsdale, Arizona, what has long been assumed throughout the industry became a reality this week as ESPN appears to be out as an option to take the Pac-12's primary media rights as the conference continues to seek a new deal, multiple sources tell CBS Sports. ESPN appears to be out as an option to take the Pac-12's primary media deal rights. And you know what? That's not even the money shot of the first paragraph. Do you know what the money shot of the first paragraph is? What has long been assumed throughout the industry became a reality this week. That's been one of the known stories behind the curtain. What long has been assumed from sources, ESPN lowballed the bleep out of the Pac-12. Fox Sports lowballed the bleep out of the Pac-12. Don't you think maybe when it comes to money, to the point where now exposure became the issue? And that happened a long time ago. And that's why the Pac-12 schools have been talking to the Big 12. That's why the sources have been leaking to the reporters. That's why the Arizona Money Perch and Arizona State has been pissed off. That's why you're getting these reports and I know they're tough to take. But that's why you're getting this blowback of a character assassinations, because there's nowhere else to go for some people, for whatever reason. They feel like they have to do it. The money shot is not so much ESPN appears to be out as an option. It's what has long been assumed. Because the people in the industry, the media industry, they know. When Andrew Michon said in the New York Post that ESPN was miles and miles and millions dollars apart from what the Pac-12 wanted, some part of that internet, the fellow that you saw tonight said, you can't take that report seriously because it was written in the New York Post. Forget about that. It was written by Andrew Michon. I mean, that's where they have gone. The situation, back to the article, the situation developed at the Fiesta Summit spring meetings this week when the Big 12 officials were told by ESPN executives its league was one of the 3 conferences the network would be airing in the future. ESPN currently has Power 5 agreements with the Big 12, the SEC, and the ACC. So there it is. Now, can we be honest? Yes, ESPN and Yormark have been talking this whole time. So has Fox and Yormark. Yormark knows. You don't think he knows that the Pac-12 got lowballed? Big 12 officials were told by ESPN executives its league was one of the 3 conferences the network would be airing in the future. The Pac-12's current media rights deal with Fox and ESPN expires July 1st, 2004. This is the first time publicly ESPN said, we're not doing anything with the Pac-12. A Big 12 administrator aware of the exchange told CBS Sports under the condition of anonymity. Now listen, this is the first time publicly, while ESPN would not be contending for the top tier Pac-12 games, it may be interested in a smaller package, secondary rights for games specifically in the late night window. Sources close to the talks emphasize that they are taking a never say never approach when it comes to potential partners as the negotiations continue. So maybe not the first tier games, but maybe a smaller late night window, ESPN. If ESPN is not interested in the Pac-12 Tier 1 games, the most desirable, likely highest rated contests, there doesn't appear to be an obvious brand name suitor for the league. Other major linear platforms, including Fox, appear not to be interested in the primary Pac-12 rights that would provide the bulk of income in a new media deal. We've been talking about this, a peek around the corner. It's that tier 1, it's the highest rated games. That is what elevates your value of the entire conference. That is the most important piece. Yes, tier 2, yes, bundling your tier 3 content, that is very important. But tier 1 is what elevates the value for the whole media package. It's the bulk of it. Fox and ESPN, they lowballed the Pac-12. They're not interested. During the conference spring meetings, the Pac-12 remains confident it will land TV media rights deal with a major carrier for its Tier 1 content. Sources tell CBS Sports there has been speculation lately that NBC Universal, USA Network could be involved. USA Network has a long history of sports coverage back to its debut as MSG Network in 1977. That included having a college football package from 1980 to 1986. NBC Universal is currently renegotiating its media rights deal for WWE Monday Night Raw, which could impact its interest in the Pac-12. Fox is also involved in ongoing negotiations to renew WWE SmackDown. I think they're in a tough spot. WWE CEO Nick Khan said of Pac-12 in March. ESPN has an upcoming negotiations to consider itself with NBA contract. This is all stuff that we've read before. According to sources who have speculated on what form a Pac-12 deal could find, the league's Tier 1 content would likely be categorized as a minimum of 2 games a week for right holders across a typical 14-week season. Those 28 games may be valued at approximately $200 million at an average of $7 million per game. I tell you what, they haven't been getting those offers at all. And that's it. That's pretty much the prime part of the breaking news. The breaking news. This is the first time publicly ESPN has said they're not interested in the Tier 1 Pac-12 content. I'm going to get to your comments right now. I'm going to get to your phone calls. I will say this. You got to keep your head on a swivel. Keep your eyes and ears open. We are entering the middle of the hot bubble of action. We're not moving the goalposts. Ask yourself if you are the University of Colorado, who just hired Deion Sanders, whose boosters are putting in money for these big NIL collectives. Ask yourself, can they afford to even go? Can they even gamble? Trying to rebuild their front porch of their university, gamble to go with the USA Network for their tier one, their top games. Their top games. We're talking top. We're talking the very highest games. Can you afford to go on USA Network? Okay. Our web, Greg, don't underestimate PBS as a sneaky linear Pac-12 option. Go 50%ers. Thanks, our web, for your contribution to the show, for your generosity. I appreciate it. USA, lots of subscribers. I mean, there's a lot of people that have USA on their cable package. That could work. But then again, they're in negotiations, NBC Universal, with WWE. I don't know if people are so not aware of the exposure. The exposure has always been the issue. And I'm not sure, they keep pretending that it's not an issue at all. And I don't know where that's coming from. They want to talk about money. Money, of course, is always the most important thing. But in this case, we all know that a $5-10 million difference might not move a Pac-12 school to the Big 12. It's always been about the exposure issue. They do not want their athletic department to get buried, to be on some huge experiment for the next 5 years, to not be on Fox, to not be on ESPN. Where's your basketball going to get played? Pac-12. And you say, wow, that's only 15% of the revenue. Fine, but it's still exposure to a major part of your athletic department. Arizona, you can be on Fox Sports with the basketball in the best basketball conference in the country, in the Big 12, or are you going to play your basketball in USA? How is that going to affect your recruiting? Your historic, incredible recruiting development of basketball players playing at the highest level, are you going to gamble on that? And it's all coming to a head. I get it. People do not like... I should say, people are saying, Greg, you made a grave mistake putting out a date range of April 28th, May 17th. We shall see. We think it's a decision time to stick or go within that hot bubble of action, and it's coming from more than just one source. There's a lot of things at play, and it's all coming to a head right now. Right now. That is what we firmly believe. And no, I can't say everything, because the number one, what we try to do at Peek Around the Corner is we try to treat the story as best we can. In treating the story as best we can, we think we treat you as best we can. So some things we cannot talk about. But I'm telling you, the hot bubble of action is right now, and we're moving into the middle of it. Faceless Man says Colorado's better off moving regardless. Larry says USA works. It works. I tell you what, they're in a lot of cable packages. No question about it. No question about it. Again, though, it's a gamble. Is it a gamble that all 10 schools are willing to take? Are they? Are they willing to take it? I don't think so. Again, ever since February 24th, we have said that we believe that the odds changed, that in February 24th, we said the odds are now greater that another Pac-12 school will be poached. And it all had to do with the exposure issue and all what we've been being told, the anger, the fear. The networks do not want us to stay together. Greg, anything new on what J.C. Shear reported about Colorado Big 12 meeting this weekend? I have nothing new to say on that story. If ESPN is out for Tier 1, then they are out for the conference overall. Might as well get Pac-12 schools for the late night in the Big 12. Another interesting comment that was said on, well, not interesting. That's the wrong word. Another discussion that was done on the great Mark Rogers show tonight was something to the effect of there was an argument being made that the Pac-12 schools that were being targeted by your Mark, that Fox and ESPN haven't been talking to your Mark or wouldn't have the money to add on some Pac-12 schools. Your Mark was called a carnival barker tonight on the Mark Rogers show by a certain panelist. I tell you, Larry Pilgrim, did ESPN get outbid? I'm sure they did get outbid. I'm sure they've been outbid 100 times in this deal. I'm sure they have been. ESPN lowballed. Absolutely lowballed the Pac-12. So Andrew Marchand saying that they're miles and miles and miles apart. Yes, they were miles and miles apart because ESPN came at such a low number. Yeah, they got outbid. So now the Pac-12, and we've known this forever, they've got to decide, all 10 schools, do we gamble on a non-traditional media package? Either be it heavy streaming, heavy streaming, or we go linear networks, the smaller ones, not ESPN and Fox. Do we cobble it together? Thank you, Opie. You have a tough competition tonight, but I'm here to support the PAT, so no doubt about it. Mark Rogers has a fantastic show going on tonight, like always, John Kurtz. But we had to come on here because, I mean, this, I don't know. I guess we're going to have to wait to. Nicole Arbach is saying that the Pac-12 is still bidding. Sure, they're still in on it. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Nicole Arbach says ESPN's not on Tier 1. Big 12 has been told that ESPN said they're going to be one of the three that conferences that we will have our content, we'll show on ESPN. ESPN is not moving out their number. we're getting late in the game, folks. Real late in the game. Yeah, ESPN, immaculate. Doesn't mean whomever is willing to pay more than ESPN is willing to pay enough to keep everyone in the pack. Just means ESPN is not bidding competitively. They're just not. They're just not. You know, Andrew Michon is not... They're not playing around, guys. When they say they're miles and miles apart, when Andrew Michon says, watch Colorado, Dennis Dodd is not... Don't depend on Dennis Dodd. Everyone here should know that by now, no matter what conference you like. Faceless man. Yeah, don't depend on Dennis Dodd. But connect the dots. Connect the dots. Ross Dellinger is refuting Dodd's reporting. ESPN tapped out. Hairy late leg. Again, I'm not going to... Ross Dellinger, fantastic reporter. Nicole Auerbach, The Athletic. I read every one of her articles. But Dennis Dodd, ESPN, even in the Dennis Dodd's article, says ESPN is not, we're going to continue talking, right? We're always talking, always leave the door open. Okay, so ESPN is talking. But you know what? If you cobble together $90 million for 16 to 18 games, if you cobble Fox offer of $50 million for 20 games, you have $140 million. You have 28 to 29 games remaining. What other media company is going to take tier 3 content and give the conference another 140, another $120 million for that deal to even be anywhere competitive to the Big 12? That's what we're looking at, guys. That's what we're looking at. Thank you, Opie, for your generosity. I appreciate it. You have tough competition tonight, but I'm here to support the PAT. So, and no, I don't want to ask about December 26th, Part 3, even though I just mentioned it. I think the only media that has not been mentioned to the pack. Okay, I don't want to say that. But thank you, Opie. Appreciate it so very much, your generosity to the channel. There's just so much. Nicole and Ross at ESPN and the pack met today. Good. That's good. That's good. That's fantastic. How long is the Big 12 going to wait for these Pac-12 schools to do something? Is this window open for another year? Really? No, it's not open. It's at peek around the corner. We believe stick or go, the hot bubble of action is between April 28th to May 17th. So my answer to that is we're going to see some action here soon. Sticking or going by one or more schools, we're going to see real soon here. That's what we've been saying this. all the way since April 18th. We did a live show April 18th. We got an Arizona State Money Purse letter on April 15th. He told us that the time for deciding, the time for choosing is April 28th to April 17th. April 28th, a lot of steam rose up. Jason Shearer talked about Colorado meeting with the Big 12 sometime next week, something to that effect. I still think I have the post on that. Possibly, maybe. There's a meeting between Colorado and the Big 12 next weekend. That was posted on the 28th. You can believe that, not believe it. That's all up to you. I have no information to that I'm willing to share at this time in regards to that story. Curtis says ESPN might have met with the Pac-12 this week, today, but they are out as to today on Tier 1 rights. Jason Shearer posted tonight, here comes the next surge in realignment news. I did not see that. Where did he post that? Did he post that on Twitter or did he post that in Arizona 247? Let me know, Kyle. Let me know in the chat. This is not going to go on forever. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the hot bubble of action. I understand. Greg, you are crazy. You are absolutely crazy to put a date range on this. Everyone in the middle of April was talking about it was going to end. It's going to take months, right? We got reports. Pac-12 presidents said they have to see a deal first from the Pac-12 and then they'll make their decision, right? All these reports came out saying it's going to end at the end of the summer. All those reports, Google it, middle of April. Our Arizona State Money Perch said, no, it ain't going to last that long. It's not going to last that long. There's too much distrust. The Pac-12 presidents need to see something now. A decision's going to be made, stick or go, right now. April 28th to May 17th. And it's May 3rd, and we're not changing that. We're not moving the goalposts. We have too much information. We're not moving it. And no, I cannot go into detail about it. I'm giving you as much as I possibly can. And if nothing happens by May 17th, guess what? May 18th, we have a party here at Peek Around the Corner. And it's going to be Drill Greg Flugard night. Drill him. But good luck. Good luck with that. April 28th to May 17th. Whoops. Ryan Thomas, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate your generosity. My guess is ESPN made its final offer to the Pac today on a take it or leave it basis, as resolution is likely close one way or the other. Quite possibly. Quite possibly. Okay, I'm checking my Twitter messages. Did you DM me? I got so many DMs. It take me a while just to... Oh, holy moly. Okay, time out. Okay. Yeah, Okay. Hold on, everybody. Hold on. There's so much going on, ladies and gentlemen. If you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. You've got to stick with us here. Stick with us at Peek Around the Corner. We're coming to an event, so stick with us. That's all I can say. Stick with us. Subscribe to the channel. You get notified of the live show. We're doing something here. Hold on. Okay, hold on, everybody. Your host doesn't know what he's doing. Yes, you guys all know. So there is, well, I can't do that. There it is. Jason Scheer's tweet. Here comes the next surge of realignment news. And he uses the word news. He does not use the word, someone's using a gopher there. Larry, Big 12. He's using my gopher. What is he doing there? Anyways, Jason Scheer uses the word news, doesn't use the word rumors. Yeah, I happen to think Jason Scheer is dead on, and that's all. I don't want to ruin Jason Scheer's reputation by me saying I think he's dead on. Okay, so I won't say any more than that. I do not want Jason Scheer to have to carry the burden of Greg Pflugar saying in more detail why Jason Scheer is dead on. So I'll just say dead on, and I'll move on from there. Whoops. Sorry, guys. Again, thank you so much, West Virginia guy, for giving me that DM. Okay, everybody, I got it. ESPN is still in it, ladies and gentlemen. ESPN is still in it. Except the Pflugar curse. Greg, when this is all over, will you tell the entire story? As much as I possibly can, I will. Just like in episode 22 of our channel, when we go through the whole story of the ESPN, the USC, how we broke the USC story March 31st all the way to June 30th. We went bit by bit by bit. We'll do this. There's things I cannot talk about. Some things will become apparent. I'm not sure. Why are people saying Greg the Cooler here? What's going on? No. Greg, his previous tweet is a Dodd story. I think so. He's just speculating. Sure. If I'm not going to argue with anybody if they believe Scheer is speculating at this time. Cloak and Dagger. Arbach just called Dodd out, Larry Pilgrim. Okay, we're going to go to the phone calls. Let me know what you're thinking. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Let me know what you're thinking. Give us a call. The lines are now open.
Call from
Ryan Martin.
Ryan Martin, the floor is yours.
How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. It's a little hot in here. The hot bubble of action is really flying. Everyone's got to just hold on tight. That's all I got to say. Hold on tight.
So I think everybody kind of knows at this point what, if something happens next, like what realistically what the next moves are. 3 or 4 schools at least go to the Big 12. A couple maybe try and get into the Big 10, and maybe that happens, maybe that doesn't. Maybe not for this round of realignment. I think it doesn't. But I think what's going to catch a lot of people by surprise. So all of the different various governing boards and bodies for all the different universities, usually they have a regularly scheduled summer meeting that happens around the end of May, beginning of June. Some go as late as like end of June, beginning of July. That is when you're going to see official action done. But make no mistake that if applications are filed with a conference to realign, it's a done deal. They already know everything's signed, sealed, delivered. The outcome is known beforehand. They're trying to beat deadlines at that point, to whether they have to notify their previous conference about what's going on, or they have internal guidelines for things, whatever. The move will be made, but there will be a tacit agreement on the outcome as far as these schools, at the Power 5 level, schools don't submit applications without knowing that an invitation is going to eventually be extended. So that's, at least in my mind, and I'm not saying I have any specific concrete information here. I'm just saying that if what happens comes next, or of whatever's going to happen next, that this is the likely series of events. Probably in the next couple of weeks, either a school or a group of schools is going to announce that they are submitting an application to join a different conference, whether it's Colorado to the Big 12, Oregon, Washington, the Big 10, however all of that happens. That's what's going to happen next. Then, once the application is received, the various presidents of the Big 12 schools at their next meetings, they're going to go in to executive sessions, talk about things, and then come out and publicly authorize their presidents to accept the invitation, or to accept the application and extend an invitation. Give them the authority to go back to the Big 12 and vote yes. A vote will happen probably sometime in the middle of the summer, and then an official invitation will be extended before the beginning of the next football season. Kind of hinky on the actual timing of it all, but it will unfold over the rest of the summer. So we'll still have more time to speculate. But just know that if an application does get submitted, that doesn't happen without the knowledge, the for sure knowledge that the application will be accepted. So it'll. Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying. For the record, for the record, peek around the corner, believes there's a certain inertia that's happening right now as we sit here and talk tonight, right now, that either it's a stick or go situation before May 17th. Like, I can't. Now, there's a question here. Just give me a moment, Ryan, and I'll let you have the floor again. There's a question here from Stephen McNeely. Greg, can you guarantee that in the next 2 weeks we will know how this is all going to turn out? No. No, I can't. I can't guarantee anything. However, Stephen, listen to me closely. We truly, honestly believe a peek around the corner within this bubble of action. And we said this on April 18th, and I'm telling you, everything that has happened since we made that announcement has gone the way we thought it was going to go. It's our strongly held opinion, if you wanted to call it opinion, information that we hold, that the first action, we're in the bubble of hot bubble of action, that something is going to happen before May 17th hits. Now, it could be Pac-12 schools decide to stay together, they get a deal, bam. Or they say publicly they're going to have a deal, they stay together. Or what we believe is more likely, ever since February 24th, more likely is someone takes the action and says, nah, this ain't going to work for me, brother. They're going to take the action to move to the Big 12, and we are going to hear about it. And this thing about application and can I get an invitation and all that, that's just semantics. And it's going to get, sure, the official vote might not happen for months, but you're going to know, just like when UCLA and USC, when they file that application the night of June 30th, it's all a done deal. We're going to know. We're going to know soon. We believe that. I'm not throwing this, look, I'm not doing this. I'm not saying this to get clicks like I've been accused of. I'm not doing this to get views. Okay? If I wanted, if my number one criteria on a story was to get views and clicks, I'd be letting you guys know everything I know. And I'm not doing that. Number two, and I'd be going on other YouTube channels. I'd be doing a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm not doing any of it. So this is not about clicks and views, which I've been accused of by the same guy that was on the Mark Rogers panel tonight. This is actual inertia that is building up, and it's either going to go the way of we're out of here, or we've made that decision that we're not going to pull that trigger, that we're going to stick to the Pac-12. We really, truly believe that. This is not a game. I do not take myself serious, but we take what we do here serious. Big difference. Ryan, go ahead. Finish. The floor is yours again. Sorry to take your time.
No, you're good, man. No, and I'll address a couple of the comments, like the general gist of some comments I've seen is that, yeah, the Big 12 is obviously talking about who they want, who they're going to take. Same with the Big 10. But there's still a process that needs to be followed. There's authorization that needs to be gotten for votes to be had and all of that thing. There is a process that is going to take a lot longer than the bubble of time that we have to play out. But it's not going to be a question of whether or not an invitation is going to get extended, whatever, because it takes a while. There's going to be if the application goes out, they know that it's going to get accepted and they're going to join. The Power 5 schools avoid that embarrassment that way. It's not like Memphis or San Diego State trying to get into to break out of the G5 into the P5. It's very much let's save ourselves both the embarrassment. Us, the embarrassment of having been told no. You have the embarrassment of having to say no. So the realignment's still going to take a little bit, but and I think I agree with Peak Around the Corner that in your view that there's just no way, with the way the deal has been rumored to line up, there's just no way that there are schools that stick around if they value their athletic departments. That there's just no way for them to survive in that atmosphere. I think that I still legitimately think that at the very least it's going to be Colorado, Arizona, and Arizona State. I don't know who a fourth team would be at this point, because I think Utah is very well out, because their administration has been very public about being out.
All righty. I'm sorry.
Sorry for taking up other people's time.
No, that's okay.
Good rest of your night.
Appreciate it. Great phone call. Great phone call by Ryan Martin. Larry Keith says Ross Dellinger now reporting the exact opposite. ESPN has been talking to the Pac-12 today. How do you know who to believe? Well, if you go to the Dennis Dodd report, Dennis Dodd did not say that they're done talking, that ESPN would be open to having a late night window. He's talking about the tier 1, the most valuable product.
Call from
Ryan Thomas.
Ryan Thomas is in the house. The floor is yours, sir.
Greg, I'm just calling in to remind people to check their blood alcohol level right now. To see how they're doing right now. Remember the rules, folks. Remember the rules. I wanted to point out that people need to kind of realize, and you've pointed this out before, Greg, because you're thoughtful and you're thoughtful this way. Dellinger, Arbach, and Dodd could all be right. But their sources may be on different timing or have different information. One report could be fresher than the other, or one might know of something that's coming down the pipe before the other. So before we start saying that people are calling each other out, we have to be.
And Dennis Dodd did not. In fact, he said the opposite. They're not done talking. ESPN is out as the tier 1, the primary media rights holder.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
And that's a big deal. That in itself is a big deal. Go ahead. Sorry.
And that also makes sense to me because, if you're trying to get money from Apple, Apple's going to be the primary rights holder if that's going to happen. I think that's pretty clear. I do want to make a point here. People need to realize, and I've seen this in the chat, NBC Universal owns USA, and we need to be very clear, folks. The NBC is not bidding on the Pac-12 until it knows what it's going to be paying for Notre Dame, or what it's going to be paying in addition if Notre Dame joins the Big Ten, or until it knows the situation with NASCAR and the NBA
and WWE.
And WWE. They've got some projects that they want to renew, and some, and they want to get back. The NBC wants to get back into the NBA badly, and I think people have to kind of stop and realize that. They're not going to. We are hitting a market recession, folks. It's coming, and they're not going to spend money for the heck of it. The second point I want to make here is I want people to actually ask themselves this question. If right now the most that's being offered from linear partners to the Pac-12 is $250 million or $25 million a school, why would Apple offer them $400 million? Why would they pay 40% above market? Why? Apple is not in a position. Apple is a very shrewd business partner, and they don't throw money away. And I'm just amazed how people just think that Amazon and Apple and all these rich companies that have tons of cash just throw the money around like Scrooge McDuck and go, swimming in, their vault of gold coins. Those companies are not wealthy because they throw money away. They're very shrewd. They're very opportunistic, and they're smart. And I see no reason whatsoever. And I don't care. Yeah, they want to get into sports, great. But you know what? Sometimes, as Bob Thompson said, the best deals you make are the ones you never do make. And I just don't see, if Pac-12 country is not watching Pac-12 football, I don't see that as being a good investment for Apple unless, they can say they can have a high range of $400 million. Yeah, sure, they can say that if certain metrics are going to be met. But I guarantee you that if everything holds the course, is what it is, the money's probably going to not be much different than the 20 to 25 million that's been floating around. And whether or not the presidents in the Pac-12 are coming to this realization or not, I don't know. The final point I want to make, and this is going to pain me, okay, Greg? I want you to know how much this pains me, okay? As a BYU Cougar, this pains me. But I will say this right now, as much as I like to believe it's not true, I don't think Utah's administration is stupid enough to walk away from a Four Corners invite. I just don't see them doing that. If no deal is going to materialize, if it doesn't, if Arizona State, and Colorado are bailing, Utah is, Taylor Randall, the guy is a smart president, and you know why he's smart? It's because his three kids all go to BYU. But anyway, he's a smart guy, and I don't think he's going to make, you folks can toss out your academic relationship research spending, but I just want to remind you, nothing precludes these universities from having relationships with each other outside of conference affiliations. Stanford and Cal are going to continue to work with UCLA and USC. Okay, they're going to still do that. Doesn't matter what's happening. Stanford farms out its research. It still needs local nearby universities to help do that. It does that with a lot of the other California schools and the UC schools in the system. Okay, let's stop this, Keeney Altamore pretentious BS crap. And let's just stop and realize that if Utah gets an invite, they're accepting it. So I mean, that pains me to say that, Greg, but I'm going to just be quite honest right now. Yeah, there's stuff that people can say out there in the media, but I think it's all but just posturing fluff and fluff and basically conjecture. And anyway, I'm going to let other people have time on the call.
Appreciate
it.
Good
night, Greg. Thanks for all you're doing. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. In regards to Utah or even Arizona State at this time, again, I'll use the word inertia.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate. Can you hold for just 1 second?
Sure can.
In terms of like a Utah and Arizona State or a Washington or an Oregon or a California or Stanford, we always go through the rules of realignment, and one of them is realignment never sleeps, and the other one is dominoes. Always it starts at the top, goes down to the bottom. Well, there's also other rules such as relationships matter and inertia. I'm not even focused. I got to be honest with you. I'm not focused on the main players on the stage right now, the main actors on the stage right now, is the Big 12, is the Pac-12, is the networks, and more specifically, Colorado and Arizona. And I'll say this. One of the actors on the stage, one of the actors not on the stage is the Chancellor of the University of Colorado. That's one of the actors that is not on the stage. He's not playing a part of it. He's not a part of what's happening. If anything does happen. Okay? I also perceive Utah is not one of the actors on the stage right now. Arizona State, not one of the actors on the stage right now. But they're in the peanut gallery and they're making a lot of noise. They're making a lot of noise. So, Big 12, Pac-12, the networks who are speaking loudly, Colorado and Arizona. And so when I talk about inertia, excuse me, Immaculate, one more thing. I apologize, Brian. One more thing. One more thing. So, the stick or go thing that we're on right now, we really truly believe that it's going to happen here in this hot bubble of action. Either they're going to stick with the Pac-12 and they're going to let everybody know, especially they're going to let the Big 12 know, or they're going to go and they're going to let everybody know, especially the Big 12. It's going to start with Colorado, Arizona, most likely one of those two. And then you have this inertia that could take over. You can have more. And what hit, and when it happens, if it happens, when it happens, then we'll attack that story at that moment in time. Okay, Immaculate, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, first off, I agree with you. I do think it's going to be Arizona and Colorado, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. But as like a cautionary tale, just seeing how some folks are reacting to the news, I'm actually agreeing with someone in chat that I don't normally agree with, and that's Larry Pilgrim. If Apple is going to actually pay for this, people need to keep in mind it's different than a network bidding. Networks have the production costs. That gets taken out of what they can pay. I don't know what those are. I'm not in that industry. I don't know what it costs, but I assume it's pretty high. That comes out of what they would pay for those rights. If Apple comes into this, they're having to pay the PAC, not just like an outside source to produce. They're going to pay the PAC to produce this content, and then Apple just shows it. So they might also be covering the cost of production, which means that's going to be a boosted number. And people might be surprised when that comes out. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to stop movement, because even Larry had to say he realizes that may not be good exposure. I've seen PAC network production. It's not that great. So it may not be enough, but I think if that comes out, that could be a big number, maybe even upwards of 400 million. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Like you're saying, I think Colorado and Arizona is going to go, but I think some folks are going to be surprised if that number gets dropped, and some folks are going to try and turn it into, this is solidifying the PAC. So we'll see. But that's all I really had for you tonight.
Got it. Thanks. Great call, Brian. Appreciate it. Yeah, so, we're getting to that point where you can still speculate about Oregon and Washington and all this other stuff, but we're really, the first crack is
Call from
Monavision.
Monavision. What's going on, sir? The floor is yours, Mr. Buckeye.
Well, let's stop talking about all this realignment nonsense, Greg, and talk about the real issue, Notre Dame.
Oh.
75 million a year for 7 home games.
It's not. Yeah, it's not just about that, and we've talked about it before. But Tier 1, when it's bundled together, is way more valuable for a network than a standalone Tier 1 content. Just like the Longhorn Network could not work because there was not enough live sport Tier 3 bundled together to get subscribers, to get the live, to get the ad rates up enough, right? It's the same thing with Tier 1. The networks want that depth. They want that backup games just in case their marquee game that they believe 5 weeks from now, just in case those two teams belly up, you have another game that we can place it. A standalone product like Notre Dame, their Tier 1, their content, 7 home games, it is a risky endeavor right now. As we talk about college football and where it's going, 75 million, I don't see it happening. Go ahead.
No, that's an absolutely ridiculous number. 50 million is ridiculous in my mind for 7 home games. And they're not even good home games most of the time.
Yeah,
unless
there's not the depth.
Scheduling Michigan regularly, Ohio State regularly. There's no logic in 75 million. And now we can talk about realignment. And things like that are why the USA Network and NBC Universal aren't going to pay the Pac-12. USA has to pay WWE. NBC Universal has to pay Notre Dame. NBC Universal has to pay NASCAR. And, by the way, NBC wants to bid on the NBA. There's only so much money they're going to put towards sports products. So it's just not going to be there to get the Pac-12 on the USA Network. If ESPN is out as a Tier 1 media rights holder, there is not a linear network for Tier 1 media rights. It's a streaming giant. It's an Apple. It's an Amazon. And yes, 400 million may seem excessive, but this is the way streaming operators work. They spend excessive amounts of money at the beginning buying programming to establish the brand.
Yeah.
It's the same reason HBO went and dropped $500 million on South Park. You overpay to get the brand established. The only streamer that's ever turned a profit has been Netflix, and it took them close to a decade to do it. So you're going to see, just like with conference realignment, it's all consolidation. You're going to start seeing these streaming giants start to consolidate. You're going to see an end to password sharing. You're going to see higher rates. By the time this is all done in 5 to 6 years, there's only going to be 4 or 5 streaming companies anyway. So that's why you're going to see Apple. I firmly believe if the Pac-12 gets a deal done, it's Apple, ESPN gets a late night game, and that's it. And I say that with a big if. And I will get off here, Greg.
Okay.
One thing I want to bring up. Tonight was the first night I actually listened to this TJ Altimore guy. And I know it's a family show, so I'll just say what he is rhymes with asshole. So TJ Altimore, you were so condescending and smarmy. I wanted to reach through my computer screen and just slap the crap out of you. It really, you came off so terrible talking over everybody and making every condescending and smarmy comment you could make. You can feel free to block me on Twitter. I don't care. You came across so terrible. and you should feel bad. And with that, Greg, no future big expansion without a bunch of stuff happening.
Great call. Opie, thank you once again for your donation, your incredible generosity to the show.
Call from
Western Civic.
Western Civic, you got to give me a moment, okay? Is that okay?
Of course.
Give me a moment. I got to get caught up. Opie, once again, thank you so much for the donation, helping us keep the lights on here at Peek Around the Corner. You forgot the word allegedly, LOL. I don't know what, allegedly on everything I'm saying. You're correct. Allegedly on everything I'm saying. Thank you, Opie, for the reminder. Jared Jones, 313 great peeps watching. Great show tonight, Greg. As always, thank you, Mr. Buckeye, for once again your generous donation to the show. I very, very much appreciate it. Thank you for all of the wonderful calls. Western Civic, I apologize for holding you up. The floor is yours.
Hey, thanks, Greg. 3 things I want to hit you with real quick. Be a little bit shorter than last time. I want to thank you for giving me that time to talk about annual playoff flexibility, which this will be the 3rd and final installment in that. For those of you who missed it, Greg's live stream on April 28th. If you go to the 1 hour, 16-minute mark, you can hear my full description largely of playoff flexibility. Before I get to that other stuff sounds like I need to go see. I imagine people are referring to that debate on the Voice of. Was that where Altimore went off? I better go check that out. I haven't seen it. But as far as the realignment wars, you get to that later. But let's get to these 3 things real quick. Annual playoff flexibility is the key. And the one thing that I was saying when I got cut off last time after you gave me all that generous time was really just look at last year. Look at the Pac, and really what in the Pac, we needed a 4-team playoff. I'm glad Utah got through, but really it was Washington, Oregon, Utah, and USC. And it was someone's really got to explain to me how they did the tiebreaker on that. I know it's in there, but, one of the objectives of annual playoff flexibility is to answer questions on the field and not, with math, hopefully. And so that was really, if you look at the Pac last year, I mean, that we needed 4 teams in it. And then if you look at the national playoff last year, everybody knows the one game that we needed was Michigan versus Georgia, and we didn't get it because we had the arbitrary 3rd and 4th slots, which we didn't need last year, right? The 3rd and 4th slots were undeserved. Ohio State lost to Michigan, and God bless TCU, but they lost to Kansas State. So those questions were already answered. They didn't belong there. And so that's why we need annual playoff flexibility. So that's the first thing. On the second, I want to give a shout out to West Virginia. Now, those of you who recall, that's the 3rd protected independent, assuming the service academies don't join in. And let's talk about West Virginia for just a second. The thing with West Virginia, they're the only state flagship institution in the Big 12 right now. They don't really fit anywhere, but you can't imagine college football without them. And if you look at the history of this country, for example, it looks like we're dividing now between the South and everyone else if we get the 2 mega conferences or the 3 mega conferences. If you look at what West Virginia did in the history of this country, it's probably one of the most brave things white people ever did on this country, what West Virginia did back then. And now they don't have the market of a BYU or a Notre Dame, but we ought to give them protected independent status because they don't really fit anywhere else. But we got to have the Mountaineers. So anyway, and then the last thing I'll leave you with, Greg, and thanks so much, is just, I went to Dodger Stadium, and I don't know if I'm ever going to do that again. Last time I was raised at Dodger Stadium when I was a kid. You loved baseball, used to go all the time. I went a few years ago. I don't live in L.A. normally. I spent some time here, but I don't live here normally. But last time I went was a few years ago, and boy, I just couldn't believe the security forces everywhere. It's like making sure you sat in the exact seat you were assigned all the time. They would jump you if you didn't. And so anyways, I made a point, a friend and I, we said, okay, we're going to go up to Dodger Stadium on Sunday for the day game, and we're going to try and insist on paying cash. Okay?
Yeah.
And when that happened, we were very pleasant. We just said, look, we need to buy our tickets with cash. Look at this $20 bill. It says legal tender, all debts, public and private. And you know what happened? They called security on us for trying to give them money.
Yeah.
Okay, Dodger Stadium is like a prison right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't pay money to go to prisons.
Yeah.
You know, it's like this security place. Anyway, no war, my good man Greg. No
Got it.
war. And
No
look,
war.
the Pac can't settle its business in this environment coming out of the big, especially with what Illinois said last time they were out. They got to come out and quiet the waters. And I got to tell you, I don't understand why the big would delay in taking all the premier academic institutions on the West Coast of the United States
Kevin Warren.
for a song. Why would they delay? I mean, they're going to be there forever. But they get one way or another, they got to calm the water so the Pac can handle its business.
Yeah.
And with that, we'll let you go. Thanks
Got
so
it.
much, Greg.
Calm the waters. Calm the waters.
Annual playoff flexibility. That's the key.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it. All right. Holy smokes.
Call from
So,
Can you hold on 1 second?
absolutely.
Appreciate it. The phone calls are coming in hot, which is fantastic. I just need a moment to talk about what's going on here. Shear just a moment ago always look at how information releases. Pretty obvious where the athletic information came from, considering the timing. Shear is probably correct on that. Again, there's always the messaging wars. There's always, this is all part of it. But I think when I talk about cloak and dagger, I brought that lexicon. I brought that into college football lexicon. That's not really cloak and dagger. When I talk about cloak and dagger, it's real stuff that's going on that's really impactful, that's being cloaked, and that can really put the dagger in this stuff. Messaging wars, true. They might, someone had to return volley. Someone had to return volley, so they leaked some information to Nicole and to Dellinger, and there's probably some truth to what they were told, and they reported it. But again, it doesn't really impact the reality of what is going on right now. May 3rd. Folks, again, I'm going to say something without saying something. Because remember, Craig Pflugar, peek around the corner, I'm just a fat guy from Minnesota. But if I'm telling you the truth as I see it, let's put it a different way. If we are being accurate, if we at Peek Around the Corner are being accurate, and we say there's going to be a hot bubble of action, either stick or go with between April 28th and May 17th. That means if it's a stick or go within that time frame, that means there are things already in motion, right? It's May 3rd. Things are already in motion. If we're accurate. That's what I'm getting to, guys. We're not sitting here going, oh boy, hot bubble of action between April 28th and May 17th, and we're hoping that something that we believe that something is in motion 4 days from now, and you guys will hear it by May 17th. That's not what we're saying. We were told, we believe, and everything has gone accordingly, that something is in motion so that you will know by May 17th. Okay, go ahead. The floor is yours, Appreciate your call.
Thanks, Greg. It's Folk from H-Town. I appreciate you being on tonight.
Got H-Town.
Yeah. Hey, listen, my friend, I've been watching you for about 4 months now, and you're killing me here. I know you're holding something out. You're holding out on me, my friend. And I've been listening the last couple of, over the weekend, and you're not telling me what's going on, and it's driving me insane. So here's my question for you. Is the program tonight, was that by chance that you came on late? Was it purely by chance? Or was it by design that you feel that this might be a critical time this evening for information to be...
It wasn't by design. It wasn't by critical mass, because we think it's been critical since April 28th. We were told that. We were told that. We delivered the report to you all on April 18th. And sure enough, April 28th was the day that stuff started to move, according to what we strongly believe. So it wasn't by design. I'll tell you this, though. It was by emotion. It was by emotion. That's why we came on.
Okay, well, can you give me a hint? Just lead me in some direction on what to expect, what something that you're uncomfortable reporting right now, just something.
It's not I wouldn't say the word it's uncomfortable. I would say that I'm doing right by the story, and eventually the story, then I'm doing right by you. I've done this before. This is not my first rodeo. I'm not going to be part of the story. No way, no how. I'm going to give you a peek around the corner. I've given you a whole lot of hints. I know I'm frustrating people right now, but stick with me here. I cannot leap out in front. Like I just got done saying, if I'm saying that April 28th and May 17th is the hot bubble of action, and everything's gone accordingly since April 28th, and and it has, we believe that things are in motion right now. I know that doesn't answer your question, but
I respect you, Greg. I do respect you.
Who did I say was on the stage? All the world is a play. We are in a certain scene. Scene 3. Okay, let's call it scene 3. I don't know if you caught early in the show, but who is on the stage right now?
Well, the people, frankly, I think it's more important who's not on the stage.
Okay.
Those people, you mentioned the head of the chancellor at Colorado. And Arizona State. You haven't heard much of them. In the same context, you haven't heard anything out of Washington, and you haven't heard anything out of Oregon. I think they're just waiting to see what the deal is that they're going to get from. I think the Big Ten is just waiting to see what the deal is that is offered to the Pac-10 now, and then so that they'll know what number to come in and lowball Oregon and Washington on. That makes good business sense. Why show your hand first? So I think that it in my mind at least is who's not talking, not who is talking.
Yeah.
But I'm the guy who thinks that that the Big 12 is going to be the relegation league, and that you're going to have the two major SEC and Big 10, and then you're going to have the Big 12, which is going to take in as many members as possible and have two divisions, one that will be on par with the SEC and Big 10, and the other which will be a delegation or relegation a league, and that would be interesting in itself. But I think it's not going to be who is a member of the Big 12. It's how many people are going to be a member, or how many teams are going to be a member of the Big 12. Hey, Greg, I'll let you go. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I'll hang until the very end listening to you just in case something.
Okay.
But thanks for making my evening, my friend.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the great call. Great call. Mr. Monkey says, Greg, what would Arizona State Money Perch think about ESPN out on Tier 1? Okay, I'll get to that in a second.
Call from
Lewis, can you hold for me, please?
Sure.
I appreciate it, good sir. Lewis, one of our legendary callers, is on the line. Mr. Monkey says, Greg, what would Arizona State Money Perch think about ESPN out on Tier 1? Well, just to be clear, it takes a while for me to get information from Arizona State Money Perch because I don't talk to them directly. So obviously I don't have that information. The news broke. We came on live, but I would say that he would be ballistic. I don't even want to read his next letter because you remember what he's been saying. ESPN has to be the Tier 1 primary rights holder. He's been telling us this. Even if they lowball the Pac-12, the Pac-12's got to take it. This is Arizona State's position, my friends. This is their position. And I don't know. I mean, look, we believe they're not on the stage here at Scene 3. The actors on the stage, Big 12, Pac-12, the networks, Arizona, Colorado. But Arizona State is making noise. They've been making noise since January 30th. If Arizona State perceives this to be true, this report by Dennis Dodd, then this is a very impactful situation because they needed ESPN, even at the low ball figure. They needed ESPN to be the tier rights holder. This is the same letter that I believe it's the same letter that Arizona State Perch talked about, this window of April 28th to May 17th, which is going right on schedule. Lewis, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. The floor is yours, sir.
Well, good evening. Well, 3 points. First, it's a bit of an overreaction of Dennis Dodd because I've never felt that ESPN was a tier 1 that are really serious about it because they don't have the slots. They're having the entire SEC, the entire ACC, I believe 26 games from the Big 12 or so, or whatever that is. So other than that 10:30 slot, which is a tier 2 slot that has been discussed that they were interested in, where else would they put the Pac-12? They really didn't have a place for it. And so I don't know that this is that big of a deal. But what is going on is this continues to drag along. It's been very quiet. Not a lot's been said the past couple of weeks. And to some degree, the time, now this may be forgotten if things happen, but the time has reduced my enthusiasm to see teams go to the Big 12 because they have waited so long. It's become so obvious that they want to latch on to a league that won't even talk. The Pac-12 will not even speak. The commissioner does not talk. He's mute. And yet they're latching on to this. Everyone's afraid to say, I'm jumping off the ship. So to some degree, I don't really care whether they come anymore because I'm tired of this story dragging on. I want someone to make a move. I want Clearcoff to announce the deal. He won't put the deal on the table because he knows it's going to probably be so bad that it's going to lead to this. It's like a boulder that nobody wants. They're trying to keep the boulder from rolling down the hill, but it's going to roll. But I've lost enthusiasm because I feel like you have a lot of folks and they're doing it, but to some degree they're doing it not making a move, being Arizona and Colorado because of politics. Arizona has the politics of Arizona State, and Colorado has the politics of a university that academically looks at the Big 12 as being inferior, and maybe Arizona feels the same way. But so I've lost it. Whether it happens or not now, I don't know that I care. to some degree, maybe the big Pac-12 will look at them as a bunch of John Jacob Astors on the Titanic. Let's go down with the ship, because if they take this bad, low-exposure deal, their brand will be destroyed in 5 years. Because it's already, they haven't had a lot of success the last 10 years. They've only had 2 teams in the CFP the last 10 years, and those were years ago. And with this deal, they're going to go downhill. So we'll see. And finally, to put things in perspective, because it sounds like I don't watch the voice of college football, but there's been all this acrimony. I'm in Atlanta tonight, and my office was 2 buildings away from where the shooting occurred today. It became a national story. And for a couple hours, we were on lockdown in the office and sirens, and I've never seen so much police in my life. And so with all this, there are more serious things than people fighting on Twitter over college football. Yeah. We're 2 weeks away from May 17th. Let's hope we get there. But also remember, there's a lot more serious things in the world, and a lot that we all have to be thankful for, that we are able to talk about college football. With that, I wish you a very pleasant good evening, Greg.
Thank you so much. Great call, Lewis. Once again, puts everything in perspective. Coos Corner, Larry. I often get criticized for not making enemies with people that others want me to be enemies with. Coos Corner, Justin Walker, Mr. Walker, excellent job tonight on the panel. Again, it just shows Coos Corner has a skill set that a lot of us don't. Well, I should only speak for myself. Coos Corner, Mr. Walker has a skill set that I do not have. So he has class. He can sit there and he can be above it. He can rise above it. And I tip my hat off to you, Coos. I think it was really an important show. And if you haven't seen it, I would advise you to go watch it. Mark Rogers, the voice of college football, Coos Corner, a couple of lockdown guys, Big 12 and Pac-12, I believe. And another person was on the panel. And Mark Rogers did a great job. I could not have done it. I've said this before. I cannot do interviews. I cannot do it. Mark Rogers, what Mr. Walker, Justin Walker can do it. They have that skill set. Excellent, excellent job. I think it really put a lot of light to, I think, I know people think I'm absolutely nuts. Like, Greg, you've absolutely lost it when I don't emphasize the money portion of this media package that the Pac-12 is going to get at some point. It's the exposure, ladies and gentlemen. It's the exposure. And it's always been that. And we said it on April 83. Today we just got done with episode 207. We did set it on April 83, October 30th. It's the exposure part that the Pac-12 was going to suffer. And then February 24th, we finally said the odds are now in favor of a Pac-12 getting poached.
Call from
Steve.
Steve, can you hold on just 1 second?
Sure.
Thanks, I appreciate it. I just lost my train of thought. Hopefully I'll get it back again. Steve, the floor is yours. Go ahead, sir. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, basically I've heard you use the words or the phrase, connect the dots.
Yes.
From my personal experience, couldn't be more true, but I'll use a different word and I'll call it variables. And not to get into a math lesson here, but you have all these different variables that go into negotiations. And when you're the seller, obviously, you want to have the leverage. Well, right now, the seller doesn't have any leverage. The buyer has all the leverage. So the variables start stacking up against you. As that happens, and especially in this context, you're going to get negative publicity more than you're going to get positive publicity. On the same token, one of the variables has to be the economies of scale. And understand where you are on this day or this week or this month. The Pac-12 has not taken advantage of where they are on any day through this whole process. They have not tried to gain any leverage, if there is any to gain, and there should be somewhere, somehow, one of them, somebody figure out how we gain some leverage. They have not tried that. They have went through too many suitors. There's a variable. Potential suitors, Greg, I should say.
Yeah.
There's a variable. Okay. They are fighting an uphill battle that has taken too long, and the variables have been definitely negative, period. When you get to that point, those who are involved, now I'm talking to specific schools in this case in point, are going to get more than nervous, okay? They're going to get to the point where we need something now, and if we don't get something now, we'll go back on what we said that we need to see a deal. Because we should have seen 4 deals by now. And maybe they have, Greg. Maybe they have. But sooner or later, there has to be a tipping point for these people to go, all right, we've been patient. We've toed the company line, but now we got to move. We got to move on. That's just the way. I've been in that situation. That's just the way things, when they take this long, work out. That's my 2 cents worth, Greg. Great show. Glad you're on. I'll listen to your comments.
Appreciate it. Great call, Steve. Once again. Again, I'm seeing a lot of reactions to this reporter said that reporter said this. The story is the story, though. The story is the story. The Pac-12 so far can't get a media deal that can satisfy all 10 presidents. If they could have, they would have already done it by now. Another thing I want to say, for example, Stuart Mandel. Stuart Mandel said, I think it might have been 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. I'm not sure exactly. Some people say, well, Stuart Mandel says stuff that, he carries the water for the Pac-12, for example. If something positive, they say something, Stuart Mandel will carry it. Or if the Big 12 needs something positive to say, or if they want something negative to say, Dennis Dodd would carry it. Whatever. Stuart Mandel, excuse me. Stuart Mandel, he was the guy who said 3 or 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, Google it. Somebody Google it in the chat. He was the guy that said, you know what? Let me back up. You remember all these, you remember when Arizona President Robbins said, we got to see the deal. We know what the Big 12 number is. We got to see what the Pac-12 number is. Then we'll make a business decision. And then you have all these reports coming out saying, you know, the Pac-12, they got to see these universities, they got to see what the deal is first, then they can make a decision. They're not going to bolt before they see what the Pac-12 media deal is. Well, Stuart Mandel, he was the guy who said, you know what? Colorado is a school that doesn't need to see what the Pac-12 media deal is before they make that decision. Either stick or go. I'm putting in the word stick or go. He didn't say stick or go, but he said Colorado doesn't have to be one of those schools. And in that time, I don't know if it was before, after, whatever, on our live shows, I was saying not every Pac-12 university has to see the deal first before it's a stick or go situation. And I went through it. And I said it's because, and the Arizona State Money Perch guy said it, it's because even though they do not know the particulars of the deal, they still don't have a clue. The Pac-12 presidents, the athletic directors, the boosters, the sponsors, they know the level of the deal they're getting. And it's unsustainable. You remember when the Arizona State Money Perch said that over and over again? We know we're getting an unsustainable deal. And what he meant by that, because we went back and asked him, was it's not a deal that they can keep the gap the way it is between themselves and the Big 12, between themselves and the ACC for the next 5 years. They're going to get an unsustainable deal. They're going to fall a little bit farther behind. Even more in the next 5 years. That's what they meant. That's what he meant by unsustainable. So if Colorado's perception is the same as Arizona State, Stuart Mandel, he was the one who said particularly Colorado, they don't have to see the deal before they can make a decision. And we said that through other means and other sources, and we laid it all out in front of you. Just to bring that was Stuart Mandel who said that. That wasn't Dennis Dodd. So why do you think Stuart Mandel said that? Why do you think he said that? Anybody? Why do you think he said that? Was he getting fed by a pro Big 12 Endeavor plot? No. When Andrew Michon said, watch Colorado, was he being fed by an Endeavor plot? No. This is real, guys. Where it goes, stick or go, we don't know for sure because it's about humans. It's about human nature. It's about relationships. It's about making that big decision. It's about getting institutional support. Remember, also in that April 15th Arizona State Money Perch letter that we put out live on April 18th, the title of the show was We're in the Last Phase. It was all about gaining institutional support. And if they got it from enough alumni, really, it's about boosters, high-profile alumni, got to get something from the faculty, got to get the board somewhat. In some cases, you definitely need. But if they got that institutional support, now they're open to make the decision and the hot bubble of action. Remember all that, guys and gals? We talked about in the middle of April. because it was coming, and here we are. We are 4 or 5 days away from being in the exact middle of that hot bubble of action. The wheels are in motion. Does it take a turn to the right? Does it get off the road? Does it stick with the Pac-12? Or does it keep churning and it goes through the finish line? And then we have an event, and then we have even more inertia, and then we have a ripple effect. And I'm asking you all to stick with us here at Peek Around the Corner, because we're going to cover this no matter where it goes. If it's a stick situation where the Pac-12 holds together by the skin of their teeth and gets a non-traditional media deal done, it's going to be fascinating to watch it, how it works. And if there's an implosion like we believe is going to happen, we've said it since February 24th, then it's going to be fascinating. And the ripple effects are definitely going to be big, and it could be gigantic. Back to the phone call, 763-260-1333. Cloak and Dagger, Cloak and Dagger, Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, it's getting hot. And let me tell you, it's getting hot in the studio as well. Hot bubbles, wheels, inertia, goalpost, sources, and an everlasting gobstopper. Holy smokes. Willy Wonka. Well, I've eaten enough chocolate in my lifetime, so yes, I know about Willy Wonka.
Call from
Nathan Brown.
Nathan Brown, thanks for coming on in the house that sits on the corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kirk Gowdy Avenue. The floor is yours.
So, Keith Jackson, I really wish I'd had a chance to meet him. He was the best, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Kirk Gowdy, come on, Olympics, give me a break.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm a big supporter and friend of Coos, and I got to tell you, his patience tonight was epic.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. What was that?
I said I'm a good friend of Coos Corner.
Got it. Yes.
And I just want to really compliment him for his patience tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
I was trying to live tweet during his show, and I just couldn't keep up with me. So I was really impressed with, and also Josh Neighbors, and
yes.
I forgot the Locked On Pack kid's name.
Yeah.
But they all did a great job and represented very well.
Yeah, you do a good job too, sir. This Big 12 Mafia?
Much. Yeah, that's right. I appreciate it. Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, you do a great job on YouTube. I've seen you and Coos. You got a great, you just got a great cadence. You got a great way of talking. So keep up the good work, sir.
Well, thank you, Greg. Oh my gosh, that's a great compliment. I really appreciate that. The only comment I wanted to make tonight, and I know you have a lot of people that are interested tonight, that your call-outs have been accurate because they're common sense. And I think that's what we're losing in a lot of this, is the things that we're learning in the news and what comes out with dueling press conferences and press notifications is just keep it simple, stupid. And when you boil things down, what makes more sense? That the conference that simply can't communicate at some point puts this miracle contract together and is able to finish something that honestly should have been ended last September? Or does it make more sense that the entire world is saying, your product is not valuable enough to support itself. Consolidation is what happens in media. So why can't it happen in sports?
Yeah.
So I just like to call some common sense and just ask everybody to use Kuz's patience and just settle down, listen, and sort the information, and then make decisions based on common sense rules.
Yep. Great call.
Thanks again, Greg. I hope you have a great night and keep up the good work.
You
You're
too.
a bastion out there, and I loved hearing you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Great call. Mo and Vision, these West Coasters better get ready to clog those arteries and learn to drink beer through a funnel. Yeah. And a hose as intended. Also the bratwurst and the sauerkraut and all that good stuff. Absolutely. Oh, geez. I hope that 2024 schedule has UCLA playing the Gophers at Huntington Bank Stadium on November 18th, 19th, third week in November, or second week in November. The Gophers are going to play Wisconsin. They might change that schedule. Week 1 might be week 0. Whatever the second to the last week of the season, I hope it's UCLA at Minnesota. I don't think they'll put USC in that spot. UCLA at Minnesota, second to the last week of the season. Make it happen, Tony Petitti. Make it happen. I want the Bruins in the cold. It's going to be fun. Florida Rosedale, absolutely. I don't think in 2024, they're not going to bring USC in here. But maybe UCLA. Maybe UCLA. If they bring USC into a cold environment in 2024, second to the last week of the season, I think it'll probably be Wisconsin. Although Wisconsin's not as cold. I know a lot of people don't understand this, but Wisconsin, Iowa, they got the bad weather. Everybody has the bad weather, but it's not like Minnesota, not in November. It's not the same. So bring up the Bruins, Minnesota in November. Let's see what happens. All right. Greg, I think I saw you on American Sportsman with Kurt Gowdy in the episode. You guys were hunting badgers. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that was me.
Call from
Immaculate.
Immaculate, thanks for calling again. The floor is yours. What do you got to say?
Hey, Mona got me thinking. You want to talk some Notre Dame?
You talk about whatever you want to talk about, sir.
Well, I was just kind of curious if you would want to talk about it because personally, I think Notre Dame is the real story. But I know you're kind of more focused on the Pac side right now.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I actually think Notre Dame is the real story, the ACC side, and like the stuff going on in the Pac is a little more smokescreen.
I got to be honest. The ACC stuff is, I think, of course, we think it's a story. We had the December 26th episode, right? Yep. Florida State money perch. We said something was going to happen. We said we had to stand down from it, from the report. May 31st, we gave more information. But we're not... people are jumping too far ahead of the story right now. They're getting ahead of themselves. That's what we think at Peek Around the Corner. We're not Nobody is ready to challenge the grant of rights yet. We think that's the first quarter of 2024 story. And if it changes, if somebody lets us know that, because we know people in that story, we'll definitely have a live show. We'll talk about it, breaking news. But I think all this steam isn't really steam from our perspective. Now, maybe there's a chance we're wrong, Immaculate. But I haven't been talking about it because we don't think the story has gotten any further.
But if there's a school
Yes.
who could challenge,
Yeah.
would you agree that Notre Dame has the easiest challenge?
Oh, that's the March 31st live show.
Yeah.
We talked about Notre. That's the number one. That's the number one. That's the thread that can unravel the ACC the easiest, because Notre Dame has the easiest way to get out of their grant of rights that's only attached with the ACC network. And if they pull that thread, if they go and join the Big Ten, then suddenly the considerations that Florida State and other ACC schools got in signing the extended grant of rights from 2027 to 2036, those considerations get blown away. And they think they have a good case to say, okay, now the grant of rights should only go to 2027.
Absolutely, because
Yeah.
Notre Dame was part of the extension.
Yes, we've talked about that. Yeah.
Yep. But and this is why I bring it up, not to talk about the same thing we've talked about.
Yeah.
But that proposal by Notre Dame to NBC was the craziest proposal when you break down the numbers.
Yeah.
You're talking $10 million average per game. Maybe actually more than that. But if you look at some of their games and how low the ratings actually are, that's an average. So that means their highest rated games, which are only like 3 to 4.0, would have to be worth maybe $20 million. That's what the Big Ten and Pac Conference championship games were valued at.
Yeah.
The last single game valuation that we got. They're old, but still, those are championship games versus just a regular season game for a team that really hasn't been that noteworthy. So for them to put that forward, would you say that was an honest first negotiation
Honest.
by Notre Dame? Would you
Honest.
say that was just
Honest as in we go way high. So if they come in lower, maybe it's a number that we can agree upon. You know, that type of negotiations tactic. They're not getting $75 million. There's no way, no how. No.
But you can only go so far with the big ask. Like if you go beyond what's credible and reasonable, it's almost like you're telling the other person, we don't even have room for negotiation.
Yeah, and it's not just about the media money that Notre Dame is going to get behind on. It's about everything else. It's about these super conferences being able to put big NIL. These conferences might make an NIL deal with their student athletes within the conference. They might be able to, they're definitely going to be able to bundle, again, the word bundle all their real data together to sell it to sports books, consortiums, and they're going to make millions off of that. Notre Dame can't match that. Again, we've talked about it. Standalone content, standalone everything doesn't create the value as bundled content. And this is really going to show up here in Notre Dame's negotiations with NBC. It really is. We believe.
But where it's crazy is NBC only does one game a weekend right now. They only do the Notre Dame game.
And they're going to start doing Big Ten here in 2023.
With the Big Ten.
Yeah.
So they might have a couple of weeks where Notre Dame gets shown as a Big Ten game. I don't know how that works with them in Big Ten, but otherwise they're going to have to put out 2 production crews. So the cost for them to carry both a Notre Dame contract and a Big Ten contract is double. Why would they do that when they could just do 2 games off of the Big Ten contract without having to sign a whole nother contract, especially at $75 million a year.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense at all. And so I don't see how NBC comes back with anything other than such a lowball number that NBC or Notre Dame can't take it. And so does that lead us down to the point where Notre Dame has to make a decision that they have been dreading for years?
Well, we think yes. I mean, we haven't been shy about it. I've been raked over the coals. I've been raked over the coals on Notre Dame message boards, and that's fine. The world's changing, and it doesn't. And it's going to be more and more difficult for a standalone, independent college football program on so many different levels to continually, if they want to compete at the highest levels, it's going to get even more difficult for Notre Dame. Even a huge, valuable, fantastic brand like Notre Dame, it's going to get really difficult for them. It really is. It's just, yeah.
It's an old model, and and with NBC going with Big Ten, I don't know how I feel. It's pretty much a statement of we're done with Notre Dame.
Let's put it this way, and I'll ask you and anybody in the chat: if Notre Dame can't get a deal with NBC, who are they going to get a deal with? Who else is out there? Remember, it's not just about the money. It's about the exposure. Notre Dame loves that NBC slot. They don't share it with anybody. Now suddenly Big Ten's coming along. Notre Dame, NBC is going to be promoting Big Ten football on NFL Sunday for the next following Saturday. So is CBS. So is Fox. They're all going to be doing multiple channel cross promotions of Big Ten football. And if NBC and Notre Dame can't cut a deal, if they can't get a deal done, where does NBC go? It's not ESPN. ESPN don't have the time slot for them. It's not ABC. ABC doesn't have the time slot for them. CBS is Big Ten country at 3:30 Eastern. Where's this who's going to do this? It's not going to be Fox. Who's going to be the media partner for NBC if Notre Dame can't cut a deal with NBC? Anybody in the chat? Anybody? Give me a media company name. Who's it going to be?
Well, there's no other option. They've all been taken. The Big Ten's deal was, to put it lightly, immaculate. I mean, it was such a death. The moment you saw that and you saw that lineup of networks, including NBC, it was basically it was a shot across the bow right at Notre Dame. Like, you're coming, come on.
Yeah.
That's my thought. That's all I really
wanted
to talk to her, because I wanted to talk about it. I was like, that's the story still, and more things so, and it's Notre Dame. We'll see how that goes, though, man. It's going to be interesting.
Yep. Thanks for the phone call. Beautiful. Jesse Wilson says TBS is good. Jim Joy, ACC Network. Mr. Monkey says Ion. Jesse Wilson says TNT. Kirkpatrick, Sling. Larry Pilgrim said the CW. Could be. It could be. And then Kirkpatrick said Notre Dame on Pluto. It's tough, man. It's tough. Jay Kirkpatrick says Nickelodeon. Mike Smith, is the 700 Club still on TV? They might want Notre Dame. I don't think 700 Club was all that Catholic. Daniel Montecastle, I'm seeing a lot of Notre Dame people saying they'll join the SEC. Very interesting. Very interesting, Notre Dame people. The History Channel, Jose ESPN grabs Notre Dame and they eventually join the SEC. I don't think so. I do not think so. Tony says, rumor touchdown, Jesus is a Hoosier fan. Gerard McKinley, if NBC trades Notre Dame for the NBA, would ESPN look to counter by grabbing Notre Dame? Maybe promise them full-time, E1 full-time. Wow. Lots of good, very creative ideas in the chat room. Notre Dame, Larry's absolutely right. Notre Dame does get some money from the ACC, the ACC network, and those NCC tournament units. They do get some money, no doubt about it. Not that much to where they can't spend $120, $140 million to get out of the grant of rights when it comes just to what they get per year, per payout from the ACC. Notre Dame's pathway to get out from the ACC grant of rights is way easier than the full membership ACC schools. No question about it. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here. We've been on the air for more than 2 hours. Peek around the corner. Thanks for all joining us. It's a crazy time. Again, before you leave, make sure you subscribe to our channel because we can pop up at any time. We popped up late tonight. We could pop up early tomorrow. You got it? We could pop up at any time. So keep your head on a swivel. We're covering this story, this Pac-12 saga. There's other stuff going on in the background. We did an episode today on the top 25 spring football games. Yesterday, we did the top stories coming out of spring football. We're covering college football from A to Z, everything, because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Before you leave, if you like this content, if you liked it, smash that like button. It helps with the algorithms so much at YouTube. If you just smash that like button, we would appreciate it so much. So until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.